The great hall of the Galactic Council stood silent as the judgment was read. Ambassador Chen Songmin felt her hands tighten on the smooth metal railing before her. Around the circular chamber, representatives from 47 species watched from their elevated platforms. The air processors hummed quietly, mixing atmospheric requirements for dozens of different life forms. "The evidence is clear," announced High Arbiter Vormach, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "Humanity has violated the sacred provision laws. Your species established 17 unauthorized colonies in contested space. The Catharan hegemony brought proof that cannot be denied." Chen wanted to speak, but the Arbiter raised one scaled hand for silence. "The Council remembers what happened to the Verkash civilization," Vormach continued. "They expanded without restraint. They consumed resources without thought for others. Within 3 generations, their wars destroyed 12 star systems. We will not allow history to repeat itself." From her platform to the left, Catharan Ambassador Mirkal stood. Her silver skin caught the light as she gestured toward the projection, showing human colony ships. "Look at their pattern of expansion. In just 200 years, humans spread to 30 systems. They show the same aggressive tendencies that ended the Verkash." Chen finally found her voice. "We expanded because Earth was dying from overpopulation. Our people needed space to live. We never attacked anyone. Every colony was built on uninhabited worlds. Worlds that were not yours to claim." Mirkal replied coldly. "The Council decides who settles where. You ignored our authority. The Torvani matriarch, ancient even by her species' long-lived standards, spoke from her water-filled chamber. Her voice came through translators as bubbles." Vormach's expression was grave. "Humanity will be quarantined to their home system. All off-world colonies must be evacuated within 1 solar cycle. Jump gates leading to Sol system will be deactivated. Humanity will remain isolated until they prove they can follow Council law." The chamber erupted in discussion. Some voices supported the decision. Others called it too harsh. Chen felt her world collapsing. "You cannot do this. Billions of humans live in those colonies. Where will they go? Earth cannot support them all." "That is humanity's problem to solve," Vormach said. "You should have considered consequences before breaking our laws." Chen stepped forward, her voice rising. "If you isolate us, you will regret this decision. Humanity has survived every challenge we ever faced. You are making a mistake." The Catharan ambassador laughed, a sound like breaking glass. "Is that a threat? Your species barely mastered faster than light travel 30 years ago. You have no military to speak of. Plaisk. 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 You possess nothing we fear." Chen said nothing more. The vote was called. 41 species voted for quarantine. Only 6 voted against. Humanity's fate was sealed. 3 months later, Captain Yuki Tanaka stood on the bridge of the colony ship Perseverance, watching the evacuation orders scroll across her screen. Around her, the bridge crew worked in tense silence. Outside the viewports, the planet New Kyoto hung like a blue and green jewel. 50,000 humans called it home. Now, they had to leave. "Jumpgate Sierra 7 just went dark," reported her navigation officer. "That makes 12 gates closed in the past week." Yuki studied the star charts. The Council was systematically cutting off every route back to Earth. Soon, only one path would remain open, forcing all human ships through a single, monitored gateway. Her first officer, Marcus Webb, approached quietly. "Captain, we need to talk. In private." In her ready room, Marcus placed a data chip on her desk. 18 colony ships have not reported to the evacuation fleet. They are not heading back to Earth. Yuki picked up the chip, turning it over in her fingers. "Where are they going?" "Beyond Council space. Into the void beyond. The region the Council considers worthless." Yuki had heard of the void beyond. Space, where resources were scarce, where stellar radiation ran hot, where navigation was nearly impossible due to unstable jump points. No council species wanted it. "That is suicide," she said softly. Marcus met her eyes. "Maybe. Or maybe it is survival. Earth cannot handle the returning population. We will have food riots within a year. Housing shortages. Disease. The council is sentencing billions to slow death. And you think we can survive in the void? I think we can try. The Perseverance has 5,000 people aboard. We have engineers, doctors, teachers, farmers. We have supplies meant to start a new colony. We can adapt." Yuki walked to her viewport, looking down at New Kyoto. Her crew had families on that planet. Children who knew no other home. The council will consider it an act of rebellion. The council already decided we are criminals. What do we have to lose? Yuki was silent for a long time. Finally, she turned back to Marcus. "Send a coded message to the other colony ships. Ask them where they stand. I will not order anyone to follow me into exile, but I will not lead my people back to Earth to slowly starve either." Over the next 2 weeks, the responses came. 17 ships agreed to join the Perseverance. Together, they represented nearly 100,000 souls. Engineers created false transponder signatures. Navigation officers plotted secret routes. Medical staff stockpiled supplies. The night before the jump, Yuki sent a final message to her sister on Earth. She kept it simple, knowing the council would intercept it. "I am sorry. Tell Mother I love her. Tell her I am doing what I must to keep my crew alive. We will not forget humanity. One day, we will return." At dawn, 18 colony ships broke formation from the evacuation fleet. Council monitors screamed warnings. Defense ships scrambled, but they were too slow. The colony ships jumped to coordinates the council did not recognize, vanishing into the unmapped darkness of the void beyond. In the council chambers, Vormak received the news with cold satisfaction. "Let them go. The void will kill them within a year. The problem solves itself." But Mirkal stared at the star charts, at the empty space where human signals had disappeared. Something in her ancient instincts whispered a warning. Humans were survivors. What would they become in the dark, where no one watched? What would desperation teach them? She kept her concerns silent. The council celebrated their successful containment. Only Mirkal wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. The last jump gate to Sol system closed. Humanity was alone. 50 years had passed since the lost fleet vanished into the void beyond. In the medical bay of the Perseverance, Captain Yuki Tanaka lay in her bed, surrounded by children and grandchildren. Her hair had gone completely white. Her hands, once steady on ship controls, now shook with age. Her granddaughter Hana sat beside the bed, holding the old woman's hand. At 32, Hana had spent her entire life on the Perseverance. She knew no other home than the metal corridors and humming engines of the colony ship. "Tell me again," Hana said softly. "About Earth. About the sky." Yuki smiled, though it cost her strength. The sky was blue. So blue you could stare at it for hours. And at night, you could see stars. But they did not move. They stayed in place, permanent and stable. Not like here, where stellar drift changes the view every week. It sounds beautiful. It was. But this. Yuki gestured weakly at the ship around them. What we built here is beautiful too. We survived, Hana. Against everything the universe threw at us, humanity survived. 2 days later, Yuki Tanaka died peacefully. The entire fleet held a memorial. 18 ships, now connected by communication relays and shared resources, dimmed their lights in respect. Yuki had been the last of the original captains. Now, command passed to the generation born in exile. Hana Tanaka stood before the Fleet Council in the Perseverance's largest chamber. 17 other captains watched from their video screens. Their faces young compared to the leaders who had fled the council 50 years ago. These new captains had been children, or not yet born, when the lost fleet entered the void. "We face a choice," Hana began. "Continue as we are, or expand further into the void. Our resource situation is stable, but not comfortable. We need more mining operations." Captain Dmitry Volkov of the ship Defiant spoke up. "The asteroid field in Sector 47 shows promising mineral content, but the radiation levels would kill any council species within hours." Hana nodded. "But not us. We have adapted. Our ships have better shielding than any council vessel. Our crews take radiation exposure that would hospitalize other species. We can work where they cannot." It was true. 50 years in, the void had changed humanity. Not genetically, but technologically and psychologically. Engineers had developed closed-loop life support systems that recycled everything. Water, air, even organic waste was broken down and reused. Nothing was wasted, because waste meant death. Ship hulls had been reinforced with salvaged materials, layer upon layer, until they could withstand radiation that would melt council ships. Fusion drives had been rebuilt and improved, running on fuel sources abundant in the void but ignored by the council. Most importantly, humans had learned to navigate the impossible. The void's unstable jump, points, and stellar anomalies that terrified other species became familiar to human pilots. Children grew up learning to read spatial distortions the way earlier generations learned to read weather patterns. "We should vote on the Sector 47 operation," said Captain Lee Min-jun of the vessel Horizon's Hope. "But first, we have another matter. Long-range sensors are detecting unusual signals from council space." Hana pulled up the data on her screen. Distress calls. Hundreds of them. All on emergency frequencies. The pattern was wrong. Too many calls. Too widespread. All recent. "Something is happening," she said quietly. "Something bad." Over the next weeks, the Lost Fleet's communication specialists worked to decrypt and analyze the signals bleeding across the quantum bands. What they discovered sent chills through every captain. A new threat had emerged from dark space. The Skroth swarm. A hive-minded species that consumed everything in its path. Council military forces were being shattered. The Catharan hegemony's famous fleet had been destroyed in 3 major battles. Colonies were going silent, their populations dead or absorbed into the swarm. The Lost Fleet gathered for an emergency council. The debate was fierce. "We owe the council nothing," Captain Volkov argued. "They exiled us. They left us to die. Let them face their own problems." Quote, "We need Volkov." Quote for more. "Those distress calls are not from council politicians," Hana countered. "They are from civilians. From families. From children who never voted to exile us. If we return, the council might attack us," Captain Lee pointed out. "We are technically criminals. We defied the quarantine. If we do nothing, the swarm will eventually reach the void," said Captain Sarah O'Connor of the vessel New Dawn. "And then Earth. Our families are still in Sol system. The council sealed them in, but they are still our people." A young engineer named Paulo Santos stood up from the observer seats. "If they continue at their current rate, they will reach the edge of the void in 8 years. Sol system in 12. Running is not an option anymore." Silence fell over the council chamber. Hana looked at each captain in turn. She saw fear in their eyes, but she also saw determination. 50 years in the void had taught humanity something crucial. They could survive anything. They could adapt to any environment. And they never abandoned their own. "We take a vote," Hana said. "All in favor of returning to council space to help fight the swarm." One by one, hands rose. 17 captains. Not a single voice of opposition. "Then we prepare," Hana declared. "We have lived in the dark for 50 years. We have survived where nothing should survive. Now we show the galaxy what humanity became in exile." The Lost Fleet began preparations. Engineers reinforced weapons systems, building armaments from salvaged materials and desperate innovation. Pilots trained in combat maneuvers that used the Void's dangerous spatial anomalies as weapons. Marines practiced boarding actions in zero-gravity and hostile environments. The ships themselves had become something new. Covered in layered armor plating, bristling with improvised weapons, their hulls scarred from decades of fighting against nature itself. They looked nothing like the sleek colony vessels that had fled the Council. They looked like survivors. They looked dangerous. 3 months later, the Lost Fleet gathered at the edge of the Void. Ahead lay Council space. Ahead lay a galaxy that had forgotten them. Ahead lay the enemy that threatened all life. Hana stood on the bridge of the Perseverance, looking at the star charts one final time. Beside her, her first officer asked, "Captain, are we ready?" Hana thought of her grandmother, of the original captains who had chosen exile over surrender. She thought of the children born in darkness who had never seen a planetary sky. She thought of humanity, isolated and forgotten but never broken. "We are ready," she said. "All ships, jump on my mark." The Lost Fleet jumped toward Council space, toward battle, toward a reckoning 50 years in the making. Commander Zeketh of the Council's Central Defense Command stared at his sensor display in confusion. His 3 hearts beat faster as he tried to make sense of the readings. 18 unknown vessels had just emerged from uncharted space, heading directly toward the embattled Torvani colonies. "Identification?" he barked at his sensor officer. "Unknown, Commander. Ship signatures do not match any known Council or Swarm vessels." "Wait. I am detecting human biosignatures." Zeketh's dorsal spines flattened in disbelief. "Impossible. Humans have been quarantined for 50 years. Their ships would not even make it this far from Sol System." "I am reading the data correctly, Commander. Those are human life signs. But the ships, they are wrong. They do not match any human vessels in our database." Zeketh pulled up the visual feed. What he saw made no sense. The approaching vessels were massive, covered in layers of mismatched armor plating. Weapon ports bristled along their hulls. Scarring and repair marks covered every surface. They looked like ships that had fought 1,000 battles. They looked dangerous. "Get me a communication channel," Zeketh ordered. The main view screen flickered to life. A human woman appeared, younger than Zeketh expected, with dark hair pulled back and eyes that held no fear. Behind her, he could see a bridge filled with equipment he did not recognize. "This is Captain Hana Tanaka of the human vessel Perseverance. We received your distress signals. We are here to help." Zeketh's confusion turned to anger. "You are violating Council law. Human vessels are forbidden outside Sol System. You will turn back immediately or be fired upon." Hana's expression did not change. "Commander, the Torvani colonies are under attack by the Swarm. You have maybe 4 hours before they fall. You can waste time threatening us, or you can let us help." "The Lost Fleet," Zeketh said suddenly, recognition dawning. "You are the ships that disappeared 50 years ago. The ones who defied the evacuation order. Yes. We survived in the void beyond. We learned things out there. Things that can help you now." Zeketh wanted to order them destroyed, but his sensor officer was feeding him updated reports from the Torvani colonies. The situation was desperate. 3 swarm bioships were converging on the Council defensive line. His ships were taking heavy casualties. If the colonies fell, 5 billion Torvani would die. "You have no authority here," Zeketh said, but his voice held less certainty. Hana leaned forward. "You are right. We have no authority. But we have something better. We have ships that can fight in conditions that would kill your crews. We have weapons you never imagined, because we built them from nothing. And we have people who spent 50 years learning how to survive impossible situations. So here is your choice. Commander, shoot us and lose the colonies. Or trust us and maybe, just maybe, save those 5 billion lives." Before Zeketh could respond, alarms shrieked across his bridge. The swarm had broken through the outer defensive line. Sign: 3 massive bioships, each larger than a council cruiser, were closing on the colonies. Council vessels scrambled to intercept, but Zeketh knew they would not make it in time. Then the Perseverance moved. Zeketh watched in shock as the human ship accelerated far faster than its size should allow. It did not angle for a weapons approach. It did not try to fire from distance. Instead, it charged directly at the lead swarm bioship, building impossible speed. "What are they doing?" his tactical officer shouted. "They are going to collide." The Perseverance struck the swarm bioship at full velocity. Its reinforced prow, designed to break asteroids in the void, tore through the organic hull like a blade through flesh. The bioship split in half, spilling atmosphere and biological matter into space. The Perseverance emerged from the other side, damaged but intact. Already turning for another attack run, the other Lost Fleet vessels joined the battle. Zeketh watched tactics he had never seen before. Human ships dove through debris fields that would rip Council vessels apart. They used the radiation from nearby stellar phenomena as weapons, herding swarm ships into zones of deadly energy. They coordinated with terrifying precision, each ship moving in perfect sync with the others. A swarm bioship fired acid projectiles at the human vessel Defiant. The ship's shields absorbed some hits, but others got through, burning into the hull. Zeketh expected the ship to retreat. Instead, it accelerated forward, coming so close to the bioship that their hulls nearly touched. At point-blank range, the Defiant fired every weapon it had. "Insane," Zeketh whispered. "They are all insane." His communication officer spoke urgently. "Commander, the humans are sending us tactical data. Battle plans, weak points in the swarm bioships, suggested attack formations." Zeketh pulled up the data. It was detailed, professional, and clearly based on extensive combat experience. "Integrate their tactics into our battle plan," he ordered. "All ships, coordinate with the human vessels." The battle turned into something brutal and desperate. A swarm boarding pod struck the Defiant, breaching its hull. Zeketh pulled up the internal feeds, expecting to see the human crew overwhelmed. Most Council species could not handle close combat. The psychological stress was too great. What he saw changed everything he thought he knew about humans. Human Marines met the swarm creatures in narrow corridors. They fought with weapons that sprayed fire and threw explosive charges. They moved like predators, coordinating with hand signals and covering each other with practiced efficiency. When a swarm creature grabbed one Marine, 2 others immediately shot it off him. When the Marines were forced to retreat, they did so in organized stages, never leaving anyone behind. "They are warriors," Zeketh said in wonder. "True warriors." The battle raged for 6 hours. Council ships and human vessels fought side by side, learning to coordinate despite their different tactics. The humans taught the Council forces to fight dirty, to use every advantage, to never give up, even when situations seemed hopeless. Finally, the second swarm bioship exploded under combined fire. The third, badly damaged, retreated into dark space. The colonies were saved. Zeketh's bridge fell silent as the magnitude of what happened settled in. They had won. They had actually defeated a major swarm attack. Because of the humans. Because of the Lost Fleet. Hana's face appeared on his view screen again. Her ship showed heavy damage. Fires burned in sections of the hull. But she was smiling. "Commander Zeketh," she said, "I think we need to talk. The Council exiled us 50 years ago. We were supposed to die in the dark. Instead, we learned how to survive. We learned how to fight. And when you needed help, we came back. Now, you have a choice to make. Do you treat us as enemies? Or do you recognize that the galaxy needs us?" Zeketh looked at his damage reports. 3 Council ships destroyed, 7 more heavily damaged. The human fleet had lost 3 vessels, but their sacrifice had saved billions. He thought about the tactics they had shared, the way they fought without fear, the way they never abandoned their fallen. "Captain Tanaka," he said slowly, "I am just a military commander. I do not have authority to change council law, but I will send a full report to the council chambers. I will tell them what I saw here today. I will tell them that humans are not the threat we feared. I will tell them that you are the defenders we need." Hana nodded. "That is all we ask. A chance to prove ourselves." After the communication ended, Zeketh sat in his command chair, staring at the starfield, where human ships now tended to rescue operations. They worked alongside council crews, pulling survivors from wreckage, offering medical assistance, sharing supplies. His tactical officer approached quietly. "Commander, the humans fought like nothing I have ever seen. How did they become such warriors?" Zeketh thought about the void beyond, about 50 years of survival in the harshest environment in known space. About generation after generation, learning to adapt or die. About a species that refused to give up even when abandoned by the entire galaxy. "We sent them to die," he said softly. "Instead, we created something extraordinary. We created survivors who became protectors. The Council needs to know what we did, and what these humans became because of it." The Lost Fleet held position near the Torvani colonies, awaiting the Council's response. Hana stood on her damaged bridge, looking at the casualty reports from the 3 lost ships, over 2,000 humans dead, but 5 billion Torvani alive. Her first officer stood beside her. "Do you think the Council will accept us?" Hana did not know, but she knew humanity had proven something today. They had shown the galaxy that exile had not broken them. It had forged them into something stronger. "We will see," she said. "But whatever happens, we are not running anymore. We are here to stay." The council chamber had not seen a human presence in 50 years. Now, as the great doors opened, every representative turned to watch. Captain Hana Tanaka entered first, followed by 17 other captains from the Lost Fleet. They wore pressure suits, marked with scars and repairs. They moved with confidence that spoke of people who had faced death and survived. High Arbiter Vormak observed them from his elevated platform. These humans looked different from the apologetic ambassador he remembered from decades ago. These humans looked hard, dangerous, but also tired. They had clearly fought a long war just to stay alive. "The Council recognizes the human delegation," Vormak announced. "We received Commander Zeketh's report of your actions at the Torvani colonies. Your assistance is noted." Katharan Ambassador Mirkal stood, her silver skin gleaming. She had aged well, unlike Vormak, whose scales now showed their years. "However," Mirkal continued, "you remain in violation of council law. You defied the evacuation order 50 years ago. You established unauthorized settlements in the void beyond. You crossed into council space without permission. These are serious crimes." Hana stepped forward. "We survived where you sent us to die. We built homes in places you considered worthless. And when you faced destruction, we returned to save you. If that makes us criminals, then the council's laws are wrong." Gasps echoed through the chamber. No one spoke to the council so directly. Mirkal's eyes narrowed. "You will submit to council authority. You will return to Sol System. The quarantine remains in effect." "No." The single word hung in the air. Hana stood straight, meeting Mirkal's gaze without flinching. Behind her, the other 17 captains moved to stand beside her in solidarity. "Explain yourself," Vormak demanded. Hana pulled up a holographic display. Star charts appeared, showing swarm movements across the galaxy. "While you debate laws, the real threat grows. The swarm is not just attacking outer colonies. Our sensors detected their movements during our return. They are far larger than you realize. Seed ships have infiltrated dozens of systems. Hidden breeding grounds exist in dark space sectors you do not monitor." "Relected. Monitor." She expanded the display, showing projected swarm expansion vectors. At current rates, the swarm will reach core council worlds within 5 years. They will overwhelm your defenses. Your military is designed for peacekeeping, not total war. You are not ready for what is coming. The Torvani matriarch spoke from her water chamber. You offer this information freely? Yes. Because if the council falls, humanity falls with it. We do not want to see the galaxy consumed. Then what do you want? Vormak asked. Hana met his gaze. Full council membership, recognition of human territories in the void beyond, and limited claims in outer rim sectors away from established worlds. The end of our exile. In exchange, we share everything we learned in the void. Our survival technologies, our combat tactics, our knowledge of how to fight in environments that kill other species. Unacceptable, Mirkal said immediately. You ask for rewards for breaking our laws. Captain Dmitry Volkov stepped forward. We ask for recognition of what we earned. Every world we settled was worthless to the Council. Every technology we developed came from necessity. Every tactic we learned came from fighting to survive. We took nothing from you. We built everything ourselves. The chamber erupted in argument. Some representatives supported humanity's return. Others demanded punishment. The debate raged for hours. Hana stood silent through it all, letting the council tear itself apart over her people's fate. Finally, the Torvani matriarch raised a tentacle for silence. The humans saved my people. 5 billion Torvani live because the lost fleet chose to help us. That must count for something. They had ulterior motives, Mirkal argued. They want to force us to accept them. If they wanted to force anything, they could have, the matriarch replied. Commander Zeketh's report was clear. The human fleet has capabilities we do not. Their ships, their weapons, their tactics are all beyond our current understanding. If they wished to threaten us, we could not stop them. Instead, they offered help. That is the action of allies, not enemies. Vormak considered her words. Perhaps. But the question remains whether we can trust them. Hana opened her mouth to respond, but proximity alarms cut her off. Red lights flashed throughout the chamber. Emergency broadcasts filled every screen. A massive swarm force had emerged from jump space. Thousands of bioships, far more than any previous attack. They were heading directly for the Council homeworld. The invasion had begun. Panic spread through the chamber. Representatives shouted over each other. Defense forces scrambled. But everyone knew the truth. The Council homeworld's defenses could not hold against such numbers. Billions would die. Hana pulled up her communication device. Lost fleet. This is Tanaka. Emergency status. Prepare all vessels for combat. Authorization code. Perseverance. Omega 7. Vormak stared at her. What are you doing? Saving you. Again. Hana typed rapidly on her device. Before we came here, we sent recall codes into the void. Every human settlement, every mining station, every outpost we built in 50 years. We told them that if we sent the emergency code, they should come to Council space. All of them. Council sensors began registering new contacts. Dozens at first. Then hundreds. Human vessels emerged from jump space, surrounding the Council homeworld in a defensive formation. Ships of all sizes and configurations. Mining vessels retrofitted with weapons. Patrol craft designed for asteroid fields. Colony transports converted into carriers. All scarred. All dangerous. All ready to fight. 300 human ships formed an outer defensive shell around the Council homeworld. You brought an invasion force, Mirkal accused, her voice shaking. No, Hana said firmly. We brought an army to defend you. Now get your forces coordinated with ours, or watch your homeworld burn. Your choice. Vormak made the decision in seconds. All Council forces. Coordinate with Human Fleet Command. Full cooperation. No restrictions. The battle for the Council homeworld became the largest engagement in galactic history. Swarm bioships crashed against human defensive lines, like waves against rock. Human vessels held positions that should have broken under such assault. They used every trick learned in the void, every desperate tactic, every hard-won advantage. Human fighters performed maneuvers that seemed impossible. Their pilots enhanced with cybernetics developed where biological limits meant death. Human marines boarded swarm bioships, carrying weapons that used fire and explosives to devastating effect against organic vessels. Human commanders shared their tactical knowledge freely, teaching Council forces to fight with creativity and determination. The battle raged for 36 hours. Hana commanded from the Perseverance, coordinating 300 human ships and twice as many Council vessels. She slept in 4-hour shifts, ate ration bars at her station, and pushed herself past exhaustion. The tide began to turn when human intelligence identified the swarm's central hive mind ship, a massive bioconstruct that coordinated the entire attack. Destroying it would throw the swarm into confusion, but it was protected by hundreds of bioships. No attack could penetrate that defense. Captain Volkov volunteered. His ship, the Defiant, was already heavily damaged from the fighting. One ship. Fast approach. Ram the target. I can do this. Dmitri, no, Hana said. Find another way. There is no other way. You know that. This is what we do. We protect life, no matter the cost. Volkov did not wait for approval. The Defiant broke formation, accelerating to maximum speed. It dodged fire from dozens of bioships, its shields failing, its hull burning. But it did not stop. At the last moment, Volkov transmitted one final message. For humanity, for the galaxy, for every soul worth protecting. The Defiant struck the hive mind ship at full velocity. The explosion lit up the space for thousands of kilometers. When the light faded, both ships were gone. But the remaining swarm forces immediately fell into disarray, their coordination broken. Council and human forces pressed the advantage, destroying or driving off the confused bioships. By the time the battle ended, the swarm was in full retreat. The Council homeworld stood. But the cost was terrible. Hana read the casualty reports with a heavy heart. 73 human vessels destroyed. 40,000 humans dead. Captain Volkov. Captain Lee. Captain O'Connor. So many friends lost. But 500 billion Council citizens lived. The homeworld survived. In the aftermath, human rescue crews worked alongside Council forces. Hana watched through her view screen as human medics treated wounded Torvani with the same care they gave to humans. As human engineers helped repair Council ships. As human crews shared food and supplies with former adversaries. They see us differently now, her first officer said quietly. Hana nodded. We showed them who we really are. Not the monsters they feared. Not the criminals they judged. Just people trying to survive. People willing to sacrifice for others. The Council would reconvene soon. The debate over humanity's place in the galaxy would continue. But Hana knew something had changed. The galaxy had seen what humans could do, what they would do to protect innocent life. Whatever the Council decided, humanity was not going back into exile. They had earned their place among the stars through blood and sacrifice, and no law could take that away. 3 days after the battle, Hana walked through the refugee camps established on one of the Council homeworld's moons. Human and Council citizens mixed together, helping each other rebuild temporary shelters. She watched a human engineer show a Torvani family how to repair their atmospheric regulator. Nearby, a Council medic treated a young human girl's injuries with technology humanity had never seen before. The barriers between species were breaking down, not through laws or declarations, but through shared suffering and mutual aid. Captain Tanaka, Hana turned to find a young Torvani woman approaching nervously. Behind her stood 3 children, their skin still showing stress patterns from the recent trauma. Yes, I wanted to thank you. Your people saved us. When the swarm came, we thought we would die. But the human ships came. You protected us. The woman's voice broke. My family lives because of your sacrifice. Hana felt the weight of 40,000 dead pressing on her heart. Many humans gave their lives. Honor their memory by building a better future. The woman nodded, tears streaming down her face. She took her children and moved on. Hana stood still for a moment, feeling the enormity of what had happened to settle over her. 50 years of exile. 50 years of survival. And now, 50 years of pain and growth coming to this moment. The council reconvened in emergency session. This time, the chamber atmosphere was different. Representatives who had spoken against humanity before now sat silent. The Torvani delegation wore symbols of gratitude. Even the Ktharan section seemed subdued. Hana and her surviving captains entered the chamber. Only 12 captains remained from the 18 who had first arrived. The others had died in battle. Their empty places spoke louder than any words. High Arbiter Vormak addressed the assembly. The council must decide humanity's fate. Before we begin debate, I wish to share information that has come to our attention. Holographic displays activated throughout the chamber. They showed hidden human settlements scattered across the galaxy. Mining stations in asteroid fields the council had written off as worthless. Small colonies on high-radiation worlds no other species could tolerate. Habitats in nebulae that disrupted normal sensors. Dozens of installations the council never detected. Humanity did not just survive in the void beyond, Vormak said quietly. They expanded. They built civilization in places we never looked. Places we never imagined anyone could live. They have been among us for decades, and we never knew. Mirkal rose, her voice sharp. This proves they cannot be trusted. They established illegal settlements throughout council space. On worlds you abandoned, Hana countered. In environments you considered uninhabitable. We took nothing from you. We built on what you threw away. Those territories belong to the council by law, Mirkal insisted. Then show me the colony on the radiation-soaked moon of Garvex. Show me the settlement you built in the Flame Nebula. Show me the mining operation in the Shattered Belt. Hana's voice grew harder. You cannot. Because no council species can survive in those places. But humans can. We learned how. And we made homes there because you left us no choice. Captain Ming Chen, one of the surviving Lost Fleet commanders, stepped forward. You exiled us 50 years ago. You expected us to die quietly. Instead, we thrived. We built a civilization that exists in the spaces between your worlds. We created technology you never imagined. And when you needed us, we came to help. Now you want to punish us for surviving? The chamber fell silent. Finally, the Torvani matriarch spoke. The law is clear. These settlements are illegal. But the law was written when we believed humans were a threat. Recent events suggest otherwise. They remain dangerous, Mirkal argued, though her voice held less certainty than before. Dangerous to enemies, perhaps, the matriarch replied. But they saved 5 billion of my people. They lost 40,000 of their own doing so. That is not the behavior of conquerors. That is the behavior of protectors. Vormak raised a hand for order. Ambassador Mirkal, I understand your concerns. The Ktharan hegemony has always valued order and law. But we face an existential crisis. The swarm will return. Probably in greater numbers. We need humanity's help to survive. The question is not whether humans broke old laws. The question is whether we can afford to reject them now. Mirkal sat down slowly. For the first time in 50 years, she looked uncertain. The debate continued for hours. Representatives argued every angle. Finally, Mirkal requested the floor again. Everyone expected her to speak against humanity. Instead, she surprised them all. "I led the effort to exile humanity 50 years ago," she began. "I believed they were a threat. I convinced this council to quarantine them. I thought we were preventing another Verkash disaster." She paused, her silver skin dulling with what might have been shame. "I was wrong. Humans are not the Verkash. They expand not through conquest, but through adaptation. They survive not by destroying others, but by enduring what others cannot. And when given the choice between revenge and rescue, they chose to save us. I was wrong about humanity. Perhaps it is time the Council admits its mistake as well." 2. R. The chamber erupted in discussion. Mirkal, humanity's greatest opponent, had just spoken in their favor. Vormak called for a vote on a new proposal. Humanity would receive full council membership. Their territories in the void beyond would be recognized. Limited settlement rights would be granted in outer rim sectors, with the requirement that human colonies avoid worlds claimed or desired by other species. In exchange, humanity would share their survival technologies and serve as rapid response forces for council defense. The vote was called. This time, it was not even close. 38 species voted in favor. Only 4 voted against. Humanity was officially welcomed into the Galactic Council. Hana felt tears threaten but held them back. 50 years. 50 years of exile, survival, and sacrifice had led to this moment. After the session, Mirkal approached Hana privately. The old Katharan seemed smaller than before, as if the weight of her mistake had physically diminished her. "Captain Tanaka, I owe you an apology. I wronged your people. I sent you to die." Hana studied her former adversary. She could see genuine remorse in the alien's eyes. "You did what you thought was right. You were trying to protect the galaxy, and instead, I nearly destroyed it by eliminating the ones who could save it." Mirkal's voice was bitter. "What we did to humanity, it was cruel. Mirkal's. It was," Hana agreed. She would not pretend otherwise. But pain teaches lessons. Exile made us stronger. Desperation made us innovative. Maybe we needed that crucible to become what the galaxy needed. That does not excuse our actions. No, but we can move forward anyway. Learn from the past. Build a better future. Mirkal nodded slowly. "Your people are remarkable. I hope I live long enough to see what humanity accomplishes now that you are free." 2 weeks later, the first official transmissions were sent to Sol System. The jump gates, closed for 50 years, reopened. The quarantine ended. Humanity's homeworld would finally learn what happened to the lost fleet. Hana stood on the Perseverance's bridge as the message transmitted. She imagined Earth receiving it. Imagined families learning that their lost relatives had not only survived, but had saved the galaxy. Imagined the joy and tears as people realized they were no longer alone. Her chief engineer, Paulo Santos, stood beside her. "Do you think Earth will forgive the Council?" "I think Earth will be too busy celebrating to worry about forgiveness right now. Later, maybe there will be anger. But we survived. That is what matters." Paulo nodded, then asked the question many were thinking. "Captain, the Council accepted us because they need us, because we are useful. Do you think they truly respect us?" Hana looked out at the stars, thinking about everything humanity had endured. Some do. Some fear us. Some still doubt us. But we earned our place through actions, not words. We proved who we are. That is enough. The first ships from Sol System arrived 3 weeks later. The reunion was emotional. Families separated for 50 years finally embraced. Children met parents they had only known through old messages. Siblings who had gone separate paths decades ago found each other again. But Earth brought news too. The home system had struggled during the quarantine. Overpopulation had caused exactly the problems Chen Songmin had predicted. Food shortages, resource wars, disease. Billions had suffered because of the Council's decision. There was anger. There were calls for retribution. But there was also hope. Now, the jump gates were open. Now, humanity could spread across the stars freely. The age of suffering was over. 6 months after the Council vote, Hana attended the dedication ceremony for the memorial wall on the Council homeworld. It honored all who died, defending the homeworld from the swarm. Human names were carved alongside Council species. No distinction, no separation. Just heroes who gave their lives for others. She found Captain Volkov's name and placed her hand against the cold stone. "We made it, Dmitri. We are finally home." A young human boy approached, maybe 8 years old. He looked up at Hana with wide eyes. "Are you Captain Tanaka? From the Lost Fleet?" "Yes. My teacher said you saved the galaxy. Is that true?" Hana smiled sadly. "Many people saved the galaxy. I was just one of them. But you came back even though the Council was mean to us." "Why?" Hana knelt down to the boy's level. "Because saving lives is more important than holding grudges. Because protecting others is what makes us human. And because we never give up. Even when things seem hopeless." The boy nodded seriously. "When I grow up, I want to be like you." After he left, Hana's first officer joined her at the wall. "The first Joint Council human expedition departs tomorrow. They are going after the remaining swarm forces in deep space. You were invited to lead it." Hana shook her head. "I am tired. I have been fighting for 50 years. Time for the next generation to lead. What will you do?" Hana thought about it. "Maybe I will visit Earth. See the blue sky my grandmother told me about. Stand under stars that do not move. Feel solid ground beneath my feet." She smiled. "Maybe I will just rest for a while." They stood together at the memorial, watching Council and human citizens pass by. Some stopped to read names. Some cried. Some simply stood in respectful silence. The species mixed freely now, learning about each other, building friendships, creating something new. "We did it," her first officer said quietly. "We survived. We saved them. We earned our place." "Yes," Hana agreed. "We were doomed to die alone in space. Instead, we reclaimed the galaxy by force of will and strength of character. Not through conquest, but through sacrifice. Not through destruction, but through protection. We showed them who humanity truly is." She looked up at the stars, thinking about the lost fleet, about 50 years in the dark, about every hard choice and desperate fight, about the price of survival and the cost of victory. "Humanity never gives up," she said softly. "They tried to make us disappear. Instead, we became the galaxy's salvation. Let history remember that. Let the universe know that when you push humans into darkness, we learn to make that darkness our home. And when you need us most, we will return to stand between you and oblivion." The memorial stood silent, its names a testament to sacrifice. Above, ships from a dozen species moved through orbital space, human vessels among them, not invaders, not conquerors, just humans. Finally home, among the stars where they belonged. The exile was over. The age of humanity had begun.